I recently had the pleasure of being on a podcast with the lovely Sia, and I can't commend her enough for how she approached that interview. I was a little nervous since it was my first interview, but she made me feel so comfortable. She was intelligent, thoughtful, truly listened, something I deeply appreciated. At one point, she mentioned that she thought some of my content might be a bit clickbaity, and I found that interesting. Now, we didn't get the chance to dig deeper into it during the interview, so I would need to understand her personal definition of clickbaity before having a fuller conversation specifically with her. But it did get me thinking about the general concept of clickbaity content. Let's be real, no one makes content without the end goal of it being consumed. This is how I think about it. My goal is to build a business school for the entire adult industry, providing high quality business education, resources, and support for workers worldwide. Because no one should have to walk this path alone or uninformed, but unfortunately most of us do. The reality is I need exposure to be able to build that. People need to know about my business school in order to benefit from it. So every time I make a video, I do it with the intention of getting maximum views. Otherwise, why do it at all? In fact, when coming up with headlines, my social media team actually writes into ChatGPT controversial or highly engaging headline on, and we put the topic in. The question is, why is this bad? Clickbaity has a negative association. But why? I certainly wouldn't benefit from asking ChatGPT to write me the most boring headline of all time. When you hear something you might consider to be critical, it is important to dig behind the question, because usually what lies there are judgments or assumptions based on unquestioned societal views. For example, the term clickbait itself often carries a negative connotation. But if we dig deeper, what does that really mean? Is it the fact that the headline or piece of content draws people in? Or is it about how we engage with the message once it's in front of us? At the core, what's being labeled as clickbait could just be an attempt to grab attention in a world where everyone is constantly bombarded with information. In a sense, it's about being strategic and using language to meet people where they are. It's not about tricking or deceiving anyone. It's about cutting through the noise and sparking curiosity. So the real value, whether it's education, resources, or insight, can actually shine through. And let's be honest, we're all a product of the environment we're in. So every time I hear a criticism or a judgment, instead of reacting defensively, I try to look deeper. What assumptions are being made here? What are people really saying when they use words like clickbait? Often these comments come from a place of discomfort or resistance to change, either about the way things are done or about the topic itself. And that's okay. But the key is we can't let those assumptions control how we move forward. Every criticism is a chance to pause, reflect, and learn, to evaluate what's really going on under the surface. To ask yourself, is there a lesson to be learned here, a perspective to understand? Criticism doesn't define us, but how we respond to it does. So instead of resisting or dismissing feedback, I choose to dig deeper, and I encourage others to do the same. Because the real growth happens when we start looking past surface level judgments and start questioning the deeper beliefs driving them. Every criticism is an opportunity for growth if you choose to learn from it.